everyone. Today I'd like to share with you my thoughts, my feelings and views on this beautiful place which is considered to be the centerpiece of Adelaide city centre, and I'm talking about none other than Rundle Mall. So when we think of a mall, we would generally think of an enclosed area, be it large or small, but with a roof overhead. But this one, guys, is totally different. It is an open air mall, and even I couldn't quite grasp the concept initially, but I did, and I found it so refreshing. An open air mall, let me explain that concept to you. Basically, Rundle Mall is situated in part of Rundle Street, which was previously a proper street, guys, with cars and buses and so on going on that street. But in the year 1976, there was a decision made that the city, Adelaide City Centre local council, I think, would have decided to create a premier shopping precinct in this area. Rundle Street, which had previously been a road, part of that street with cars and so on, now was a huge walkway, and in that walkway it's been beautified. There are lots of lovely sculptures which I can't talk to you enough about. They were so lovely, and alongside the walkway, the huge walkway, beautiful architecture, guys. And some of the buildings are old buildings which has been sort of like touched up and so on, but they are really old buildings, Victorian buildings from the 18th century, which is Victorian era. And and together with that, it's a mix of beautiful modern architecture as well as old architecture. So alongside that street, prior to it was a street, alongside that walkway were these with this architecture. And the whole place is so beautiful, guys. It wasn't the 18th century, guys, it was the 19th century, because most of the buildings were like, I could actually see the engravings on the right at the top. It would be like 18 something and so on. So the 1800s were basically the 19th century. So I get so fascinated when I see old buildings, and I don't know how many of you are like me, but when I see something old, and I just keep thinking of who would have used these buildings, and who would have, and there were pictures in Adelaide Arcade, which is another area that was situated in this along the mall. There were pictures, old pictures, vintage pictures of the same street with carriages, horse carriages, and the shops were all old, and with horse carts and so on. And it just brings you into a world, or makes you think of a world that you haven't seen. The story a little short, guys. Well, basically, the shops were entertainment outlets, there were shops, there were retail outlets, there were departmental stores like Target and Kmart, which I had frequented many times. And then there were supermarkets like Coles and Woolworths, where I went to buy a lot of my groceries, and I think I've done some videos as well. And there were also higher end departmental stores like David Jones and Myers, which I did not enter because I was so engrossed in just doing cooking and so on. I didn't really get to explore every single thing. So Myers and David Jones I didn't really go into. And besides that, there were arcades and plazas and so on. And along the walkway, there would be buskers. Buskers are basically like musicians, artists who would perform every now and then, especially on Sundays. They would perform on the streets. Musicians would play their music, and you could just sit and watch. And like sometimes I would just buy a cup of hot chocolate and I would just watch. So it was really, really nice. The whole experience was really nice, and I thought I'd just share some of bits of this of my experiences with you guys. That particular day, when I took the videos, I had actually set out to meet my nephew, who I hadn't seen prior to my trip to Adelaide. This was a fine, young, handsome young man called Moganeshwar, and he's my cousin's son, my first cousin's son, and I haven't seen him before. So me and my daughter, we met him a few times, and then I met him because my daughter was quite busy with her work and her classes and so on. And I met him. So on this particular day, I was about to have a cup of coffee with him, and that was one of the highlights of my trip, meeting my nephew. So I'm going to put a picture of us meeting up, and then I'm going to put a video of of my walk down Rundle Mall.
Get out of way. I'm sure that I need to come looking out of time. It's short, this is our fate.